my god, the new Destiny expansion looks so freaking good! Alright, I really gotta get to work on doing D&D stuff though. Hey, Twitter notification. What? Bungie, no. A Destiny Dungeons & Dragons crossover? No! No! It's a trick! It's a lie! This is impossible!
It's not a lie. It's real. And you know it.
No!
It's your dream come true. D&D and Destiny getting together for a crossover. It's like your two toxic exes coming to you with the proposal of a threesome. It's everything you could have wanted.
But I don't. I won't! I've stayed strong for so long. I haven't spent a single cent on microtransactions. No, I won't. You can't make me.
Oh, but I already have.
No!
Give in.
No! I'm not buying it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, the armor's pretty cool, and it's D&D themed, which is awesome, and I love the Illithid Warlock, but I go for more sci-fi look with all my Guardians, you know? Fashion, alright? It takes a priority. Hi Crispy, I was watching one of your horror story videos, and one of the stories was about scheduling. I know, for many of you, this might be a very triggering topic, so just, brace yourselves, alright? I'm here for you. Anyway, scheduling horror story. It reminded me of something that happened to me a few months ago. For context, I was playing a Curse of Strahd campaign with a group that, ironically, was cursed itself because of the amount of problems we had with scheduling. And I'm not talking about waiting months for the next session, which is rather typical for this hobby, unfortunately. I'm talking about, for example, that time our poor DM's PC spontaneously exploded. Its HDD exploded, so he lost everything he had for the campaign. All the notes, maps, etc. See, that's why you store on, the cloud or an online drive. I don't understand why people put all their eggs into this one basket. I mean, you can't lose the cloud, right? Hey, Crispy, this is your online drive manager. We need you to pay the subscription cost for you to use our services. Oh, yeah, I don't have my credit card on me right now, but I can probably get that to you tomorrow. Oh. Well, in that case, pay the money. Or the D&D game gets it! No, wait, you have 5 minutes. I'd rather see the cash wired out here now! No, please! You leave me no choice! Yeah, poor guy lost all the notes, maps, etc. And he was changing most of the original adventure with new NPCs, storylines, and even some homebrew stuff. So he couldn't just take the book and move on. This led to a half-a-year hiatus. Well, this was a horror story itself. It wasn't the one I wanted to talk about. One of the players, the Dungeon Master's girlfriend, was having a very rough time. She was mentally unstable, and one day, because of her cat's very sudden death, she lost it. At first, every week we postponed our sessions because she always said the last minute that she couldn't make it for the game. And prior to this, we had an agreement that we never play without a missing player, which always bugged me since our little scheduling curse. Look, I have that policy for my professional streamed show. Don't have that policy for your home game, though, because your ass will never play. After 2 months of not playing anything, wonder why, she finally told us that she wasn't in the mood for the campaign and suggested we play without her. While I responded that if she needed a break, I understood, I was willing to play without her, even though I'd miss her, the rest of the group too, especially the DM, wanted to wait though until she recovered. And they decided that every month we would check out how we were doing and if we were good to play. Another 2 months passed, and I started getting frustrated. I told the group that while DM's girlfriend was having a break, the rest of us could play another game in the meantime. And the Dungeon Master offered to play a one-shot that would be like the prequel to our Curse of Strahd campaign, set in a homebrew world that had connections with the campaign. It sounded cool, so we accepted the offer. I was so excited to play, I had my character immediately, but the other players, not so much. But the one that delayed the game the most was the Dungeon Master himself. For reference, he offered us the one-shot in March, and we didn't have a session 0 until friggin' September. Hey buddy, look on the bright side, okay? You have session 0. That means a Crispy gets spared the firing squad, alright? Thank you. You should feel good about that. And even then, we didn't finish it, because he wanted to make relationships with each other like a Powered by the Apocalypse game. And we couldn't do it that day, because there were players that didn't have their characters yet. For months, every now and then, we tried to meet again to do another session 0, session 0.2. This thing was impossible. And suddenly, Amy, I'm assuming the girlfriend, appeared and told us that she was way better and wanted to play with us in the one-shot. Everyone responded with emojis of excitement, but I was the only one that said, nice. When are we going to play? And the Dungeon Master said that we could try it next month because they were very busy at that moment. Okay, the next month I said, are we playing anytime soon? And another player asked that because it was December, so Christmas, it would be very soon, and it would be difficult to meet up because of the holidays. We could talk about it after the holidays. In my country, Christmas ends the first week of January. Bro, for me, Christmas ends the day of Christmas, okay? If I have to hear that friggin' Mariah Carey song for 1 second after the 25th ends, I will Sudoku right then and there. Wait, sorry, no. I will seppuku right then and there. Look, waiting until Christmas meant she was suggesting to wait another month just to talk about the game because she didn't have her character yet. That was the last straw for me. I waited a whole year to play with this group, and all the rescheduling was frustrating for me. That after about a week, I decided to tell them I was leaving. It broke my heart because I was having so much fun when we were playing, but in that moment, I lost any excitement I had for any of the games. The Cursed Strahd game, the one-shot, I was hoping they would understand. Boy, I was wrong. First, when I told the Dungeon Master before the rest of the group, he didn't respond to me in 6 hours, only to say that he was sorry, but he didn't want to force it. And they could tell me if they finally had a date so I could join them again. I replied that I wasn't playing anyway, and he stopped responding. Next day, I told the others, and they didn't say anything until the next day either. And 2 of them were very mad. They told me I should have told them earlier that they weren't rescheduling on purpose. That was unfair. Meanwhile, I was having one of the worst panic attacks I've ever had in my friggin' life. The other player said that we should have a call and talk about it. And finally, we decided that no one was really into playing again, even the Dungeon Master. So we wouldn't play the Curse of Strahd campaign or the one-shot ever again. And so the Curse of the Cursed Strahd campaign was ended, causing the group to break. Hope the story makes sense. English is not my native language. Thank you for reading, and have a nice day. Have a nice day to you as well. And man, that sucks. Scheduling is a skill, it's a talent, and one that clearly a lot of people don't have, and that is okay. It's okay not to be perfect at everything, especially when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons, but it is something that you will inevitably have to learn, especially, unfortunately, if you are the Dungeon Master. Besides that, I would feel so much pressure if I had a breakdown and I needed to take a break from the campaign and the group insists on pausing to do it without me for months on end. It would put pressure on me to get better faster so that everyone else could continue having fun. I am not saying that's what the woman was going through in this case. I can't read her mind, but if I were in that situation, that's what would be going through my mind, and I think that's bad. If you want to help somebody, obey their wishes. The lady said, hey, play without me. You shouldn't respond to that by delaying the campaign for months on end. It's not helping literally anyone in that situation. My first game, I was confused and didn't have any IRL friends to play with, so I went online and found a Roll20 game that was looking for players while being listed as new player friendly. I joined, and when I asked about how to make a character, the Dungeon Master came back at me with a brick. Roll 3d6 for stats. Only human characters, not even variant human was allowed. No martial classes because DM's words, martial classes are useless. Okay, DM, that's a really, really sound argument. I offer you an equal argument. Rune Knight, you stupid bitch! Seriously, have you seen the Rune Knight fighter? That thing does not mess around. Anyway, yeah. Also nothing outside the player's handbook or the DM's guide. On top of this, we had to pick classes since no duplicates were allowed either. So being the new player I was, I asked what I should play as. The party decided what classes, and we ended up with a sorcerer, a wizard, a cleric, and me as the barbarian because the DM claimed it wasn't a martial class, it was a tank class. Right, okay. Yes, this isn't a gun, it's a weapon. I had no explanation on what to do since the DM set my character the rest of the way for me. The only part I made was the backstory, and the DM never looked at it or any of the other players' backstories. Our first session happened, and we were stuck in what was essentially the D&D version of the DMV. We had to wait in line, and the Dungeon Master spent a lot of time just telling us what the magical DMV was and why we were there. This translated to several real-life hours of waiting in line and watching a line of NPCs move around, maybe once every 2 minutes. I think I would rather die.
Together, me and my party will break the Khan's forces. They will not be able to stand against our wrath. We will free the people and put an end to this bloody invasion. Our adventure is just beginning! Hey, DM. Can I roll to hit?
Who are you going to hit? There's guards everywhere.
Yeah, just myself.
Some of us made small talk or asked things from NPCs directly in front of or behind us. I don't understand what was happening, but I was trying to play into my 6 intelligence barbarian character. I asked what would make us move faster, and our wizard said that when the line in front of me was gone, it was my turn at the desk. This was the wrong thing to say, as my barbarian understood this as knock out the people in front of her, and she would be able to finish standing in the line for hours. She started punching NPCs until they were unconscious, and she could take their place in line, and we repeated this 19 times before the DM yelled at me and how it was essentially a CR10 enemy run out from the back room of the building. Being I made my backstory for my character that she was an Amazonian woman who saw things from the old perspective of fatter means richer and more lavish, she immediately was stricken by the 500-pound slime in human form. I rolled persuasion and ended up making the CR10 enemy into an ally and started clearing the line for our characters. Bro, what did you say? What did you say to make him do that? Pretty please? Because he just beat up like 19 people. Maybe the NPC was just into muscle mommies. The session ended after 4 nat 20s and making the guy continue doing stuff for her before he wandered off into the back of the building to eat a sandwich since he was hungry. The DM called the session after that and just never started another session. We all started off at level 1 with basic gear and no gold. That is certainly a story. I don't even know what to say to that. Some DMs have these weird, wacky ideas for what they want to do with their D&D campaign, and a lot of them sound, if I'm being completely honest, really stupid. Like, they sound subversive and interesting when you're telling them to a group of other people, but when you're actually playing them out, they might end up being extremely boring. And in this case, yeah, Fantasy DMV. Very boring. There is nothing wrong with being creative. Creativity is going to drive you, but think practically. How are my players going to interact with this? Are they actually going to enjoy this? Because subversion doesn't matter if no one's having a good time. You know, it's funny, we often talk about how persuasion isn't mind control and how using persuasion like mind control is a bad thing, but here, I think the only interesting part of the session was using persuasion as mind control to get this random guy to do stuff for you. You know, at least in this case, that ended up being fun, even if everything else was about as boring as a real-life DMV. The tabletop role-playing game we're playing is Pathfinder, but much of the horror takes place outside the game. The important characters are me, as the Urban Ranger Goblin, the Dungeon Master is a problem DM, the DMPC is a healer diplomat, there was a ninja who played a ninja in this one-shot, Cat's a community friend, and Kid's a community friend. The Dungeon Master asked us to create characters for a one-shot that might turn into a longer campaign. We weren't given much information other than it would be low magic and in Greyhawk. I collaborated with the Dungeon Master to create my Urban Ranger character, designed without magic, focusing on traps instead. However, since it was just a one-shot for level 1 characters, and spoiler, the campaign never progressed far, I never got to see if any of those traps were unbalanced. I didn't have a session 0. Guys. It's your fault, guys. Every time, it's your fault. Internalize that. But yeah, no session 0 could be acceptable for a one-shot, but less so for the potential campaign. Instead, we spent 2 hours with the Dungeon Master showing us a map of Greyhawk, pointing out... oh boy, okay, I got this. Keoland, Gradsol, and other locations like Dreadwood. Not bad, okay. All this information became irrelevant as our characters would be confined to a single house in Saltmarsh. Our party consisted of myself, Ninja, a cleric, the DMPC, and a druid who arrived late. The party's task, except for mine and druids, was to investigate a haunted house for the town due to strange sightings. Wait! Sniff test. I'm pretty sure this is just Ghost of Saltmarsh. Isn't that just the opening of Ghost of Saltmarsh? Did this DM just rip a module and pretend it's his? Bad form, man. My character arrived via something called the Ghoul Run, planning to use the house as a hideout. while the druid just wandered in from the forest. It turned out that smugglers had taken over. Yep, this is Ghost of Saltmarsh. Bro pulling the James Somerton with his plagiarism. Oh my god. For the record, ripping things off in Pathfinder, completely a-okay. But if you're gonna rip a module, be honest about it. Yeah, smugglers, basement. They're using a tunnel to sneak goods in and out to their boats. The strange lights and activities were their signals. Instead of fighting them or turning them in, we convinced them to work with us. Since my character needed the house as a hideout, I promised to help hide their signals better. Throughout the game, the Dungeon Masters seemed to hate stealth, even in the slightest light. You would basically need a natural 20 to succeed at anything stealthy. Ninja's attempts at stealth were repeatedly thwarted, even with high rolls, failing to sneak up on a single drunkard in dim light. What was the DM's excuse for that one? Good lord.
I have been trained by masters of assassination. I have prepared all my life for this kill. My enemies will never see me coming. Yes, let's go! I mean, good. Adequate, even. I will be able to infiltrate this compound with ease. Ah, a foe. I will be as a ghost. He will never know that I am here. Look at him, walking down the... Oh! Whoa! Oh my god! Wait, what the heck? Was it my mother walking? It wasn't supposed to be out loud!
Mistakes were impossible because the DMPC had a solution for every problem. They could speak every language, had an elixir for every illness, a one-off magic item for every disaster. Every puzzle was already solved. They were just watching us run around like lab rats. Frustrated, I became openly hostile to this DMPC in character and out of character, asking the Dungeon Master to remove it. Ninja and the Cleric also voiced their discontent. The Dungeon Master agreed to make the DMPC take a more passive role, which sufficed for the moment. Towards the end of the one-shot, Ninja triggered a trap. In the module... Wait, you knew this was a module? Now I look stupid! I'm keeping in that James Somerton bit, though, okay? That's staying in. I want to make fun of that guy any chance I get. Okay, anyway, in the module, this trap dealt a reasonable amount of damage for level 1 characters. However, the Dungeon Master, cobbling everything together from various notes and additions, had it deal just enough damage to outright kill the ninja. At this point, Ninja decided he was done. We rushed the end of the session, which would have ended long ago, merely collecting loot for the campaign. A month later, I received an invite to a new campaign from the Dungeon Master. He mentioned inviting several friends, including Kid and Cat. He also mentioned that Ninja never replied. I, Kid, and Ninja all belonged to a small gaming group, so I agreed and prepared for the first game. However, only one other person showed up at all. The next session was the same. Upon messaging the group chat, I learned that most of them weren't actually planning on playing at all. After a week, more people started showing up regularly. However, I received concerning messages from Ninja about the Dungeon Master. Kid and Cat also sent me similar messages, describing the Dungeon Master's manipulative behavior. It turned out, the DM was very insecure about his reputation, and Ninja's dislike of his DMing hurt his ego deeply. Initially, I was willing to play, thinking it was just a disagreement between friends, but as the situation escalated, the DM tried to manipulate my friends and use quotes from me out of context to harm another friend. I made it clear that I would not only stop playing D&D with him, but also preferred not to talk to him at all. It was now our fault. The Dungeon Master had paid so much money for figurines, books, and was taking days off of work when none of us had asked him to do this. Bro, I hate when people do this. Like, when people volunteer to do something nice for you, and you didn't ask, they just volunteered to do it, and then later on in life, they're like, hey, remember that nice thing I did completely voluntarily? Well, now you need to pay me back 20-fold. I own you, and if you don't do what I say, you're a bad person. I hate that so much, you have no idea. None of us had even known he was doing any of this, or even wanted him to make any of these sacrifices. That's just a small fraction of what the messages were about. The Dungeon Master managed to find Ninja's phone number and said messages like, even if you block me, I can call you on another phone, which is just some really creepy stalker stuff, and is trying to make everyone in our little community think that Ninja is mentally unwell just for quitting the one-shot and refusing to join his campaign. Now that he's out of our lives, We haven't really had an opportunity to play any tabletop role-playing games, though. Ah, a stalker. As someone who has dealt with adjacent behavior, it sucks. It really takes a toll on you, even if it's not physical stalking in real life. Online harassment, especially if it's targeted towards you personally, can be a real damper on your mood. I'm not going to legally prescribe whatever you should do. I am not the person to talk to about that. I'm here to talk about D&D. And yeah, this is a DM who cannot handle criticism. Look, there are people who don't handle criticism as well. That is a natural part of being human. Some people handle it better than others. But if you're going to be a DM, you need to learn how to handle it in some way. Develop some kind of strategy for taking criticism. Because if you can't take criticism, you can't be a DM. I'm not saying all criticism is valid, and I'm certainly not saying every method of delivering criticism is valid. Some people are dicks. But hopefully your party won't be. You gotta learn how to listen to them and their feedback. And if you react like this, dude, it doesn't matter how bad the criticism is. This is unacceptable. Stalking? Come on. So this takes place during a particularly grueling battle of our campaign. Our cleric wasn't able to make that session, so we were all very low on hit points. Ah, the things you go through when the healer is not around. I need a healer. I'm holding out for a healer till the end of the fight. Someone's actually made that, I bet. Someone's made that song. There were a bunch of Shaos summoned by the main enemy for the fight that were absolutely destroying us. Said main enemy was actually a possessed version of a very helpful and beloved NPC. I'm playing a sorcerer and use my final spell slot to cast Ray of Sickness on her. It's really an act of desperation. I don't think it's going to do much harm, but I can't do anything else at this point. I crit, and then I'm hit by a wave of dizziness. Some context for this, I have POTS, which can be triggered by a rapid increase in heart rate. What is... Okay, when your heart rate increases very quickly after getting up or sitting down or lying down... Oh my god, that happens to me all the time! Oh god, am I one of those people who Google things and suddenly thinks they have cancer? But seriously, do I have this? This happens to me a lot. Okay, anyway, yeah. Increased heart rate, POTS, blah 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 blah. Needless to say, a critical hit after an extremely stressful battle meets that criteria. The Dungeon Master reminds me that spells cannot do non-lethal damage. She announces that I have in fact killed this NPC. I announce that my vision is going blurry. She tries to describe how the NPC dies, but I'm fully out of it at this point. Some important plot stuff happens, but I barely process any of it. I describe my character just collapsing from both the physical toll of the crit and the emotional toll of killing the NPC because I, the person, am about to actually do this and really could not have told them basically anything else. I was able to sit on the ground and rest. My party got me some food to help me recover. I did end up having to be more or less carried back to my dorm. Okay, that doesn't happen to me, thank God. But thankfully, one of my party members lived in the same dorm as me and was ready to get me back home. I was able to take my meds and get more food, so everything turned out fine. But it was a bit more immersion than I had been expecting that night. Long story short, I rolled a nat 20, and it nearly knocked me out in real life. This is one of those lighthearted horror stories, but it still sucks. Just recently, I had a situation in a game that you're probably going to watch on this channel, so, hopefully I'll be able to hide it. But during that game, I was hyperventilating. I was super clammy and sweaty. I was having an episode. From what? I have no idea. All that I know is I was not in the right headspace for DMing. And for the most part, I think I was able to cover it up, but it was not entirely ideal. Now, obviously, that game was for work, so I had an obligation to see it through, but when it comes to a game for enjoyment, I have absolutely called off games because I am not feeling at my best health. Don't play games at 50% health. Alright, you should be having fun. It's just hard to have fun when you feel like you're dying. Hey, that's a wrap. If you guys enjoyed, then you'll probably enjoy the first episode of our D&D Actual play. It's linked in the cards at the end of the video. We worked really hard on it. I hope you guys like it. But before you go, please do leave a like and subscribe to Crispy's Tavern so you don't miss any of our content. And finally, if you want to leave your own stories or thoughts, go down in the comments down below. If you can't think of a comment, leave the comment a bit of a stalker to let me know you made it to the end of the video. Hey, by the way, if you have your own horror stories and want to send them to us, there's an email down in the description below. Sending stories are waiting for a chance to be featured in one of these videos. But hey, even if you don't have any stories, in essence, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you all next time. Farewell.